Libra rising, I'm sure you've heard a lot of hype and spin about Barbo's basket. This is what it looks like for a Libra whole sign chart. Let's break down all the components. I'm Boy. You're awesome. Let's talk about it. This period of time asks you for visibility and questioning what's been holding you back when it comes to your own self-expression. Have you been controlling yourself? Have you been controlled by what people think? Your social expression, for example, the people that you are affiliated with, the communities you contribute to. Are you concerned about the social law, LORE? What kind of criticism or feedback they'll give you if you actually showed up as your authentic sovereign self? Are you ready for a bigger audience? Are you ready for that visibility? Are you ready to be seen by more people? Do you want your future to be bigger than your past? It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be performative though. This is all about being sincere and, again, authentic about your social expression and how you express yourself when everyone is watching. First, let's take a step back because this aspect pattern, this cradle or basket, is made up of generational planets and a social planet being Jupiter. For some of you, this won't be experienced individually, more something that you observe in your network, in your friendship circles, in your community. There might be an evolution in some way, an adoption of technology. Potentially someone blows up, goes viral that you know quite well, for example. Maybe they acquire a lot of success and fame and access to resources. So you see it in them. Maybe this doesn't actually play out in you. Now, this cradle pattern is not an isolated event. Now, I want to wind back the clock to around 2000. This is when a generation of people were born that don't know what life is like without access to the internet. And that's important because now they're 20-somethings and they're becoming increasingly more influential about their tastes and what they want to consume. Ultimately, who they have faith in, who they have trust in when it comes to people having control or power over their access to information. Now, over this period, we're going to see an acceleration of technology and how we integrate technology into our lives. Now, another cornerstone moment that we can wind the clock back to is around the global financial crisis. This is when we saw the rise of digital currency. And you'll notice that we don't use tangible money anymore. We use plastic. We tap everything. Everything's become, bank transacted on an app, for example. Now, we also saw the unsheathing of corruption and the government really bailing out the banks. And that really impacted people's perspectives of what this world was really about and who actually runs it at the end of the day. In terms of personal interest, that's when the collective first started seeing who's really in control. Is democracy even a thing anymore? Now, I actually want to start the clock at 2020. The person you were back then, have you changed? What have you adopted in terms of technology? What have you integrated into your life? It's almost non-negotiable now to not have some kind of presence on the internet. Now, that was 6 years ago, and we're halfway through a cycle, a synodic cycle between what was the grand conjunction between Saturn and Jupiter. And also Pluto is also part of this, and it wasn't far away either. And so we're halfway through this kind of societal synodic cycle between what Jupiter is doing socially. It's a social planet. It's impacting our discovery mode about what is possible. Before 2020, it was still kind of idealized to have a 9-to-5 career and work for someone else's personal interests. These days, you can actually pivot, and we've seen the workforce pivot to become influencers, have personal brands, and conduct their entire business online. So rather than being a slave to a corporation or someone else's MO, someone else's motivations, you can actually now become a slave of the algorithm, funnily enough. And collectively, therefore, this Barbo basket is about techno-feudalism, the control of information, the control of technological resources as we fuse with the machines, let's say. So from the top-down power will be controlled, potentially censored, and, they'll integrate digital IDs and they'll integrate, digital currency more so than ever. Digital property will become a cornerstone of our civilization moving forward. And we're going to see an acceleration of that potentially in July. We could see an event take place that perpetuates that. Or over the next 6 years, it will become very obvious. Whilst at the same time, there'll be a grassroots uprising of people that want to protest that want their sovereignty. And this is basically what this whole thing is about. For you, Virgo rising, I really want to start the clock at the start of the pandemic. What were you going through? What were your worldviews? Did you question your beliefs? Were you part of a community that was radicalized in some way, that was tilted, that couldn't see the opposite side of their own ideologies, for example? What has changed since then? Has your ideological or philosophical or worldview pivoted to the other side potentially? Or have you integrated technology in a way that's totally changed, your lifestyle and how you express yourself? The main charge for Libra rising is the Jupiter-Pluto opposition. And this could actually mean, on an individual level at least, that there's something quite intense happening with a friend of yours. Potentially there's a situationship, something romantic is happening. Are they controlling you, or do you feel like you're being controlled? Is there stalking happen? Is there been digital stalking happening? Have you been manipulated in some way? Are you manipulating others in some way? Now, sure, that might not be the case. Look, it is a little intense. Is your relationship or your friends' relationships changing? Are they more committed? Are they thinking about having children? Earlier in life, did you decide never to have children, and now you're at this stage of life where you're more open to the idea? There's a decision to be made here around, what you want for your future. This is basically where this charge is. Where are you headed? And what's the belief behind it? After all, beliefs spearhead our actions and the decisions we make, and those decisions pull in the abstract possibility of the future into the concrete presence of reality. Jupiter is under a lot of pressure here. It's, ruling over your third house of the settings of your mind, what you've normalized when you think about your day-to-day life, how you communicate your ideas. It's looking for freedom more than anything. It's looking for respect and sovereignty. It's also ruling that sixth house of Pisces. So, what does your perfect day look like? And it's under some kind of transformational energetic coming from this Pluto that's really throwing things into crisis. What do you actually like? What's actually authentic about your passions? How do you express yourself passionately? What fills your cup? Now, this tension actually flows off in the blue lines, sextiles and trines, to Uranus and Neptune. And so they actually help you see the bigger picture and potentially pivot some of your perspectives to help you reframe what you're going through. Now, the Jupiter trine down to Neptune in your seventh house can mean that some of the members of your community, some of these people in your friendship circles or your network, you've potentially idealized, you've put them on a pedestal, and they're not actually showing up to who you thought they were. Or vice versa, were you put up on some kind of pedestal? Do you think they don't really understand you? Some of your more important relationships can be rather foggy when Neptune moves through this seventh house, but it also kind of allows you to see behind the veil, and it's somewhat of a reality check. Now, the Jupiter is also sextiling over to your ninth house of Gemini. This is all about legal matters, publishing, your access to education, higher education, finding a mentor, becoming a mentor. Potentially there's been a mentor or an advisor or a guru that you've actually, again, put on some kind of pedestal, and they have proved to you at this point that they're something that they're not, that they didn't have all the answers. And this could be a watershed moment, a liberation of your own sovereignty and intellectual freedom. And you can be more ruthlessly curious or experimental about what your worldview actually is, especially in terms of this starting point where I want to start the clock back in 2020. What's changed since then, and what needs some kind of recalibration of your worldview? And Uranus is definitely helping you become a little bit more detached or intellectualize what you've been through in some of these more important relationships. Are they the real deal? Are they really in it for themselves because it's only been convenient to be your friend up until this point? As soon as temptation was dangled in front of them, did their position change? This goes for world leaders. This goes for gurus and advisors and cults of personality and the subsets of subcultures and societies that you've been contributing to or you've belonged to, that you voluntarily acquired or associated yourself with. Is it time to detach from some of them if they've become toxic? There might be a deep desire here or an opportunity to explore different countries, different cultures, different belief systems, spiritual frameworks. All of these things you have an opportunity to do. Now, it might make you feel uncomfortable because, again, you're concerned how people will think about you, what you might might feel judged by your friends, by your ex-friends. But are they really your tribe? Finding your tribe while Jupiter is moving through the 11th house is very important. And you'll find an expansion of new friends, new acquaintances, new opportunities. This is the house of gains after all. So people that want to give you more access to resources and potentially prop you up and give you some kind of influence or leadership, potentially even fame, more notoriety when it comes to your more visible self. This is a conflict about how visible you want to become and what that means for your future. As I'm recording this, Venus is conjunct the South Node in your 12th house of Virgo. So you could really be feeling very stuck psychologically, that something has to change. Your mood and probably your lifestyle. The North Node is now at 0 degrees of Pisces, and so that's really asking you to dissolve what has been normal, what you've normalized in your day, and really searching or questing for that perfect day. Maybe making a more serious, sincere devotion to your lifestyle, your health, your practice, what you consume. And ultimately, have you been compassionate with your body and your psychological health? Have you been serving that in this time? Have you normalized some kind of toxicity when it comes to how you're meant to be as opposed to who you really are? Now, as a thank you for watching this entire video, please feel free to send me a DM. I'll send you a coupon code for 30 Australian dollars off my natal and birth chart readings. Again, this might not play out in your world. You might see two of your friends develop some kind of intense, somewhat toxic relationship. Potentially you see some of your friends break up, marriages dissolve. It doesn't have to be you. It's something that you can definitely observe in this time. And again, I wouldn't be expecting a particular event to happen when everything perfects around the 19th or 20th of July. This is an unfolding of a pre-existing cycle that we're all moving through. Only love, positive vibes always. Hope that helps. Okay, bye.